So, starting off this wonderful new year, I thought it would be apropos to dig into some of the things going on in the military community right now, or just, some fun information and some good information, because policies tend to change and the military likes to enact new policies at the beginning of the year. Some things I have covered already that are going to be new policies as of this year, but we've got some new ones that were announced. So let's figure out what's going to happen next. You were listening to Life of a Military Wife, and I am your host, Sam Wolf. Okay, so first things first, this is one that I think a lot of people are talking about, and that is the passing of Betty White. If you didn't know, actress Betty White, who was 99 years old, almost 100, passed away just before the New Year's. And I think it's tragic that we have this tendency in our culture to not really, talk about people's lives until they're gone. I had no idea that Betty White had been a part of the American Women's Volunteer Service during World War II. And I found that really awesome that she had paused her career and done something to support the war effort. So when she joined up, she was 1920-ish, and she delivered supplies to bases in the Hollywood Hills. So she was a driver, and that was a huge role. That was really critical. The more women who were able to do some of this logistics stuff here, stateside especially, it freed up more individuals to do frontline combat, men to do these more difficult jobs, physically demanding, I should say, jobs. And I just really am so impressed with her. And she was asked about it in an interview, I think back in 2010. She said it was just a crazy time and you kind of did what you did. And I'm paraphrasing her words. But I just find that really incredible that she did that. And honestly, as I was going through and learning a little bit more, it's fascinating to find out how many celebrities really did just pause their lives and join the military. And as I was reading the basic history of the American Women's Voluntary Service, there was about 325,000 women that took part of it during World War II. It lasted until the Korean War. Mostly what they did was message delivery, ambulance driving, selling war bonds, emergency kitchens, dog sled team masters. I didn't realize they had dog sled team masters. I think that's pretty awesome. Aircraft spotters, navigators, aerial photographers, fighting fires, so as firefighters, truck drivers, canteen workers, all sorts of stuff. So she was one of those truck drivers, and she did also participate in some of the morale dances for the soldiers. But it was started in January of 1940. And was not really very popular. It was looked at as a kind of a reactionary sort of thing. But after Pearl Harbor is when it really picked up in popularity. And Betty White said in that interview that it was after Pearl Harbor that she really realized that she wanted to do something. And the California chapter was actually established by one of the mothers. His name, I want to make sure I got this right. So, okay, the mother of Lewis Nixon III, who was a paratrooper and featured in Band of Brothers. Well, his mother actually started, Doris Rainier. Nixon founded the California chapter in August of 1941, and that's the chapter in which Betty White was a part of. So, again, a little bit of history that I didn't know previously that I think it's interesting to know. So it really is a tragedy to lose such a really hysterical and funny woman. I loved her. Her comedic timing was pretty dang intense. But I started to go back and look at some of her early stuff. And she also had a fantastic voice. There were some clips of her singing that were just phenomenal. And I knew she was funny, but I had no idea she could sing that well. So we're really going to miss her, and that is very sad. So wishing the best support and consolation for her family and friends at this time. Next bit of news kind of want to share. And again, this is, again, happened at the end of last year, but covering it now. Not many people know that Miss Colorado this last year was an active duty Army soldier. For the first time in the history of the Miss America pageant, the state of Colorado was represented by an active duty soldier. And I personally think that's pretty phenomenal. I'm not like super into pageants, but I've had family members who are very into pageants. And anyway, peripherally, I've roommates and different people. So the pageant community is something I am peripherally connected to, never been involved myself. But because of that, I just think it's really cool that you have an all-source intelligence analyst, specialist, Spence Carroll, representing the 4th Infantry Division and the state of Colorado. And I just think that's awesome. Now, she did not win. Ultimately, Miss Alaska won the title of Miss America 2021. But I think it's really awesome what she's accomplished. And she's excited about the next 6 months of her reign and what she can bring to the table. And her main goal is, so I don't know if everyone knows this, but whenever they do these contests, these beauty pageants, the contestants always have a platform. There's a charity that they are usually working for, or a cause that they're trying to, educate people on. And hers is mental health for the military and suicide prevention for active duty soldiers and veterans. And that is just incredible. I think that it is wonderful that we have someone on that platform who is willing to speak up about the responsibilities to soldiers and helping take care of them and their mental health. And I really did enjoy reading about her, finding out about her. She seems like a pretty girl, I just an enthusiastic, very go-getter kind of person. Again, not met her, but really excited. And she is the first one to ever do that. Now, had she won, she would have been the first Miss America ever to be an active duty soldier. And I personally think that having active duty soldiers and beauty as beauty pageant contestants is awesome, because it shows that women are dynamic. We're not these cookie cutter. We can be beautiful and we can be strong. Anyway, I'm probably talking way too much about this, but I really loved reading about her and her goals and her platform. So if you want to go back and I'm going to link the Army Times article, but if you want to read more up on her, please do it. Next thing I really wanted to talk about is a little bit of housekeeping, not housekeeping, but information that is advantageous to know. So there is always policy changes, and whenever there are policy changes that I catch wind of that are going to affect you guys, I try to help bring it to your attention, because so much happens all the time in the military. And yeah, it seems like we always find out through the rumor mill. Even though I know this information is always put out officially, it just feels like you always find out 6 months to a year to 2 years later. It's not until it affects you that you find out it even happened. Yeah. So the Navy Times put out information about 4 major policy things that are taking effect as of this year, so as of this week. And I wanted to address those for you and make any of my wonderful military Navy listeners aware. So here we go. First things first, some enlisted sailors could earn up to $800 extra each month by volunteering to extend their sea duty tours. Now, that's like the high end. So don't hear this and think, woohoo, I'm going to get $800. It is conditional on a bunch of different factors. And they're saying that the average is going to probably be more like $500 a month for people who choose to extend. And you know what? If you're a single sailor, and that might be worth it for you. Heck, if you can, but it's for each month you extend. Now, I kind of have a sneaking suspicion that because Navy Sea Tours, from everything I am purview to, do not operate like Army and Air Force ones. They don't just kind of fly you off home whenever. Like, there's a lot more logistics involved to that. So, you may not just be extending for 1 month either. I mean, it sounds great. Ooh, I'll get an extra $800, but you might have to, I'm not sure, but you're going to have to figure it out. There may be a minimum extension based on logistics and whatnot. Anyway, there's always hidden factors with the military. There really just is. The next one, the Navy announced that they are going to be shifting to an electronic performance evaluation system. And honestly, there's not much to say about that. Web-enabled performance evaluations. We'll see how that goes, because not every computer system functions very well at first. So, all my Navy listeners will have to tell me how many glitches there are in this program, because computer glitches seem to just come standard. Next one. Now, we had talked about this a little bit before with in a previous thing, and there's been a lot of awareness brought to the forefront about maternity and maternity uniforms and all of that. But the Army has put out more information regarding its launching a pilot program for sailors to provide them with maternity uniforms at no cost, which is amazing. And it kicks off this week. And I think so far they've got like 400 people who've signed up, and it's a first come, first serve thing. But I really just, oh my goodness, in this article, I love the phrasing they use. So I just have to quote them directly for this. They can receive a full array of authorized maternity uniforms. That phrase, full array. It sounds a lot more glamorous than I'm sure it is going to be. However, just the fact that they're going to have a selection of maternity uniforms is groundbreaking, because as I have previously discussed, and I don't know if you all went and looked at pictures afterwards, but some of those current uniforms are hideous. They are just absolutely horrible. And they're not flattering, they're not functional, they're just bad. They're bad. But the other thing that, and my husband was pointing this out, actually, he noticed it first when I was reading through the article, was that they're going to receive them for free for no cost, but they're going to need to return them. So I'm assuming there's going to be some sort of assessment that, if they're reusable quality, then they'll be passed on to someone else, kind of as a cost saving, because they're not charging anyone for them. But I don't know. I mean, you just assume that. So, but the thing that made me super excited, because I don't know if y'all are like me, but the last person sewing that happens or mending that happens in our home is me. I tend to get my husband's stuff dealt with and the kiddo stuff dealt with, and then I'm done. I never get my stuff taken care of. And if y'all are like me, this next little bit's going to be great, because the uniforms will be provided for participants fully hemmed with all required sew-on accoutrements attached. And yes, that's a direct quote again also, because I just like the wording they're using. It's really fun today. I'm kind of on one today. Maybe it's because for the first time in a week, I don't have a migraine. I'm a little hyper. But anyway, so again, that is awesome news for all of you Navy gals who are expecting. So I'm super excited. So yeah, it is first come, first serve. It is a pilot program. They've got 400 volunteers. The numbers could grow in the future. If you are expecting and you are active duty Navy, start asking questions and get involved, chicas, because this sounds like it is gonna be worth it. Just saying. Just my 2 cents there. Yeah. Okay. Next thing or aspect that the Navy is addressing, and it started on Saturday. As of Saturday, the Navy will be requiring all sailors of the pay grade E9 and 06 and above. So yeah, all you upper enlisted and upper officer levels, you will be required to use the government travel card for your PCS travel and submission of travel claim vouchers. And this applies to anybody who was like all the pay grades after July. So yeah, it'll apply to everyone in July. So it's starting off, this week for all the upper enlisted people and the higher ranking officers, and then everyone in the Navy is going to have to do it come July. So that sounds like a whole lot of fun because everyone knows all we want is more paperwork when we're moving, right? Yeah. I mean, I guess the good thing about using the travel card maybe is that you're not taking the money out of your accounts when you're PCSing right away. But at the same time, if they don't pay you back in a timely manner, and I know this from experience, then you're just paying it from your account later. So, and I don't feel like this is going to make them any, I don't feel like the military is going to get any faster at processing its paperwork. I just feel like it'll give you a few extra weeks before it comes out of your account. So still recommend you save a lot of money before every PCS, like always. Our go-to is $4,000. We don't typically spend that much on moves, but it's just a safety net amount because Murphy's Law of military life. If something can go wrong during a PCS, it will go wrong during a PCS, just like a deployment. So now I am fairly confident that there are most likely additional Air Force, Army, Marines, whatnot, policies and procedures that have been put into place that will be good for you all to be aware of. So as soon as I find those or whatever, I will try to push those out as a timely manner. I really do try to scour for those hidden things that just tend to creep up in our lives. Because, like I said, you don't seem to find out that a policy changed and then until it's affecting your family, which has happened so many times to us. So just because it is how it has been done forever doesn't mean it's how it's done anymore. But like, for example, I know I previously had talked about doulas and all of those policy changes that are happening with paternity, maternity leave, those sorts of things. There's always changes. So again, reference back. I know there's a few other episodes I've talked about those things, but again, I will be looking for any other information. I just happened to run across these ones for the Navy and felt like that would be important to share, especially the whole PCS and the maternity uniforms and, extra pay. Extra pay is never a bad thing. There has been a very misleading statement that BAH is going up. Yes, BAH is going up, but so is the cost of housing. It's gone up exponentially. Renters insurance and utilities have all gone up. So just because your BAH is going up doesn't actually mean you're going to have more money. So don't get too excited when you hear some of those things. It is conditional. It's also dependent on where you live. The amounts are increasing differently depending on where you're at. So just little things like that. It's the new year. It's the military, so they like to mix things up. And as I become aware of policy and procedure changes, I will do my best to pass along the information. That said, I hope that this new year has started off well for you and your family. And if you have any questions or comments or things that you're wanting me to research and look up for you, please feel free, comment, send me a Facebook message, something. We've got a Facebook page. And I just remembered I was going to mention Miss Colorado's earrings. I will post that picture. She has some fantastic earrings for her formal wear. But anyway, little things I think of when I'm wrapping up. But yeah, check out the Facebook page. I post a ton on there. People make comments and stuff all the time. If you want to email me, my email is on there for the podcast, my podcast email. And anyway, message me on Facebook. Those are some of the quickest ways to get a hold of me and ask me questions, and I can research stuff. But yeah, please, I would love to know what you want to learn about and hear about this year. So please share those ideas with me. Welcome to 2022, y'all, and let's see how this year goes. You are listening to Life of a Military Wife, and I'm your host, Sam Wolf.